Welcome back to this series on website assets. If you missed any of the other days, I am linking those below so you have a quick access to those. Now today, I do want to talk to you about being able to grow website assets quickly. So there's not only some options that you can consider as far as how you move forward with owning website assets, but also some strategies that you can use just to get the ball rolling. And I want to make sure that you're aware of these because this is probably going to give you some ideas that you haven't thought about yet. So of course, as we've already been talking about, you gotta know those numbers from your financial numbers, your goals, the time frames that you want to achieve this in, because we're gonna need those to be able to drill down into weekly and monthly action steps that are gonna help us make sure that we meet those financial goals and time frames. So now the type of action steps that we're gonna create for the site that we have are going to vary depending on the type of site that you have. So this could be that we want to really focus on increasing the number of email subscribers or the number of website visitors, the number of group members, and so on, depending on the site that you have. So for many people, they think, well, if I have a website asset, I need to heavily focus on SEO. But that can be just one way to go about this. There are sites that are heavily dependent on SEO. There are sites that actually grow substantially through word of mouth. There are websites that build a team of affiliates, and those are the ones that promote the site. So there are many different ways to actually grow a website, and it's going to depend on you, your skills, and what you think is going to work for your type of site. Now, you may not know what your type of site is just yet, and that is perfectly okay, but I just want you to be aware that there are options for how you can grow a site out there. So let's start by looking at 3 different ways that you really can get the ball rolling here and have an income producing site quickly. Now, the first way to go about this is, of course, buying or acquiring an income producing website. This is a pre-existing website someone else has already bought. They've built the audience, they've grown the revenue, and you are simply stepping in, you are acquiring that website, you are now the new owner, and now you start to collect that monthly revenue from the website, and then you can continue to grow it from there. Now, the fastest way, really, if you go about purchasing a website, is to purchase an undervalued website. Now, the way this can work is 2 different ways. Really, you're either going to purchase a website that is priced low for the amount of revenue that they have coming in, so long as we're doing our due diligence and just understanding why it's priced that way. Maybe there is an owner that doesn't really understand pricing or just wants to get rid of it really quickly. And another way is to purchase a website for what it's worth and what the person is asking for, because you see that they have not done a good job of monetization, and there are some few quick tweaks that you can make to that website, and that will substantially grow that revenue. And now you not only have more revenue per month, but you already now have an asset that is worth a lot more than what you just paid for it. Now, another way that you can go about this, whether you have a lot of money or you don't have much at all, is to actually fix and flip websites. And so a way that you can do this is if you start small, you acquire a smaller site, again, one that could be undervalued or one that you know you can add a lot of value to. You acquire that site, you build it up, and now you sell it. And now you've sold it for more, you've collected all the revenue along the way, you've saved up that revenue. So now you have much more money to be able to go out and acquire a larger website asset. And then you can do that again. You can acquire that website, you can fix it, you can increase the traffic, the revenue that's coming in, and then you sell it. And now, again, you've collected all that revenue along the way, you've sold it for a larger amount, and now you have even a bigger pot of money to turn around and go out and buy an even bigger website asset. So that is one of the ways, especially if you don't have much money and you don't want to build from scratch, you can go ahead and acquire something small and fix and flip your way up so that you do have that larger sum of money to be able to acquire the site you really want. And the third is where we are starting from scratch, and there is nothing wrong with that. We can build and then grow those. Especially with those sites, I really like to focus on the short term. How can I think big here so that I can see the most from this site in the least amount of time? So for instance, if we're relying heavy on SEO, as I mentioned, well, maybe there's another method that we could use that is going to get us to where we want to be faster, and then SEO can be an added benefit if we need that. Now, picking one of these options over the other it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that you're going to be more successful than if you pick a different option. Your success is really going to depend on your consistency and continually working on this website asset that you have here. Now, outside of those options, the different paths that you can take, there are several other things I want to make sure that you are aware of. And these are things that are probably a good idea to note down, so you make sure that you consider this as you are building out your website asset or even a portfolio if that's what you decide to do. The first thing is value. The more valuable your site is, and I'm not talking about money here, I'm talking about how valuable it is to the site visitor. Whether they're finding the answers they need, the content is really good, or maybe you have a product and it's really amazing. The more valuable the site is to the site visitor, the more attractive it's going to be to them, to their friends, to their family, to others, the more profitable that's going to be, assuming you have a profitable topic, of course, the faster growth you're going to experience. So always, always, always consider the value first that you're offering to those people who are going to be visiting your site, because that ultimately is going to reflect in the monthly revenue that you have and really just how quickly you start to build up. Now, a second thing that you can consider here for growth is that if you are interested in owning more than one website asset, is to consider using site one to grow site two and so on. So you don't have to have two sites that are identical or about the same topic, but perhaps you have two sites that share a similar audience and you can cross promote the two. Now, the third consideration here is actually something that is a whole lot easier for those of you who are long-term thinkers, but for short-term thinkers, it can be much, much harder. And this is to not pocket your profits. So as you are starting to build up these websites, whether you build them from scratch, whether you acquire them, is instead of just pocketing that cash initially, is to actually take that money to set it aside, to reinvest it in the site or sites that you are working on to grow them even faster, or to even pocket that to now go out and to acquire another site. So then you have more cash flow coming in every single month. So if you can actually hold out on some of those short-term gains, it can actually really accelerate how fast you grow and to get to where you want to be and even beyond. Now, number 4, especially if you are building a site from scratch, is to think about what is the absolute minimum that you can do to get started. And what are the biggest action steps that you can take that are going to make the biggest impact as soon as possible. So this is where we really want to think big, because we want to think what is going to bring us in the biggest results in the shortest amount of time. We got to get that momentum going. We want to do a lot of the hard work initially up front, but we want to really get that momentum going as quickly as we can. So while, especially me, I know I have lots of ideas, but I really got to sit down and focus on what are the biggest ones that are really going to make the biggest difference here. What is it that I can do, just the bare minimum, to get this to where I want to go? And then as we start building up that momentum, then that's where we can start adding in other things that we want to for the site. So while for me personally, I still acquire sites, I also will still build sites from scratch, and I'll do these for different reasons. Maybe this is a topic that I'm really passionate about. Usually this is a topic that I see exactly how I will grow this and grow it quickly, or this is something that can fit into my portfolio and I know that I already have an audience for, so it'll be very easy to grow that site quickly. So there are always options regardless of where you are starting from. Now, the fifth and final point that I want to make is, especially if you are starting a brand new site, let's say this site is going to be reliant on SEO. You really, really want to focus on creating content around the low competition keywords, and you want to do as much of that as you can so you can start building up that initial traffic and you don't have to work so hard for some of the higher competition keywords. Now, if you already have an existing site, you really want to focus on things like on-page optimization, improving the content layout, whether this is adding videos and images, tables, working on the spacing, making it more visually appealing, because the idea is really keep the visitors on the site. adding in internal links to your content. Again, keeping the visitors on the site. Those are things that you really want to focus on when you have a content SEO based website. In Next Level, I will be sharing specifically what I focus on during the first 6 months of a website, even after acquisition, as well as brand new specific ideas that you can build out along with the plan that I would use to grow those websites. So as I shared earlier in the week, I am reopening Next Level, which before this week was for entrepreneurs who wanted to grow their web design, SEO, or digital marketing business. But it is now including website assets. So if you are already a Next Level member, it is now inside of your dashboard. You have some initial website asset training that is available to you at no extra charge. And you can also get your hands on this website asset training for free when you join Next Level. Now, as I mentioned, I am going to be adding in a lot of new training about how to really grow these website assets, along with my specific ideas on new website assets that you can build out and my plans to be able to grow those. And you'll be able to ask any questions that you have along the way. So you can get all of that for free inside of Next Level for a bit until I add in more and more of that training and those new ideas. So if you are interested, you can head over to portableentrepreneur.com/next level and you can learn more there. Again, thank you so much for watching. Questions, comments, thoughts, drop them below. I'll be here to answer your questions.